Welcome to the Body Smart Podcast, where we remove roadblocks to fitness and health to empower you to master your health habits. We help you become Body Smart.
Hello, everybody, and welcome to the Body Smart Vodcast. I am so excited to be with you today. I have here with me Preston Johnson from UtahRunning.com, and we're excited to have him with us on the podcast. He is a great runner himself, but also helps other runners to excel and exceed their expectations by coaching. He does a lot with UtahRunning.com to help people get information out there and just promote running in general throughout our great state of Utah and growing. And so pretty fun to have him here. We just did a metabolic test and he crushed it with 80.5. So did awesome there with his VO2 max, but also burned fat like a champ throughout almost his entire heart rate range. He really did well. So it shows that he's been training in a way that really is optimized for that long-term burn and is helping him be a great endurance athlete. So pretty fun to have him in here and talk a little bit more about how he got here. So tell us a little bit more about your running journey. So where did you start as a runner and how did you kind of get to working with UtahRunning.com?
Well, I started as a soccer player, actually.
Oh, okay.
I love soccer. I played on a local comp team, and I got started with running just for the sake of being in shape for soccer tryouts.
Okay.
So I had some friends that had siblings that ran on the high school cross country team. And so they kind of, as we got going into high school, was really excited to get into cross country, and they extended that to me. They said, you might as well start, get in shape. You have soccer tryouts in December, and you'll be ready to go for that. And so
that's a good way.
I kind of just jumped in on a whim, just thinking, oh, my friends are doing it. Why don't I do it too? And I guess from there, I fell in love with running.
That's awesome. Positive peer pressure.
Yeah, definitely. Your friends have a lot of impact on you.
All right.
And as the season progressed, I started to get better and better and got used to running. And by the end of the season, I had no ambition to even try out for soccer. I loved it.
Wow.
And so running kind of took over my life from that point.
Wow. That's pretty crazy. So gave up soccer altogether then?
Yeah.
Wow.
Yep. So that first season, I was still playing on the comp team as I competed. So there'd be days when we'd go do like an interval workout, and then I'd go play a 70, 80-minute soccer game the night after.
That's pretty rough.
And those were long days.
I'll bet. Yeah. Sore, tired, probably eating a lot of food.
Yeah, that's been a consistent in my life. I eat a lot of calories.
All right. Well, you got to keep the machine fueled, right?
Yep.
So fast forward. So that was kind of the rest of your high school career. That was which year in high school? Sophomore?
So that was my freshman year.
Freshman year. Okay.
Technically still going to junior high at the time, and we just gone up there just because of my friend's siblings had already been competing there.
Okay.
And so at that point, I, like I said, didn't play soccer anymore and went track full time.
Wow.
And was running a lot of miles.
Yeah, a lot, I'm sure.
Yeah.
So how did your high school running career go?
It went really well. So like I said, I got really into it after I quit soccer. Yeah. And so I started really just bumping my mileage up and trying to do as much as I could. And at points while I was in high school, I was running over 110 miles a week.
Wow. That's a lot of mileage.
And so that's where I felt like I kind of built that base and, have that metabolism that we just learned about from our VO2 tests. And I was lucky enough to go to Davis High School, which they have an incredible running program.
Yeah, Davis is great. They've had great coach after great coach after great coach, and great program. So
so while I was there, Corbin Talley was the coach.
Yeah.
He's now the head coach at Weber State. But he kind of instilled in me that love for running that I have carried on to this point. Yeah. Watching him compete in ultra marathons and his love for coaching and his love for being fit and healthy really inspired me. Yeah. And so as I was going through high school, being on this team, I was given so many opportunities by him and by my teammates to go out and compete in big races. My sophomore, junior, and senior year, we qualified for the Nike National Championships for cross country. Yeah. So I got to go compete against some of the best in the country, and Ultimately, we placed really well. My junior year, took third overall.
Yeah.
Got to go stand up on the podium, and
that's pretty cool.
That's still today is one of my most memorable moments from competing in high school for cross country.
That's pretty awesome. Yeah, Davis was definitely a powerhouse in cross country, right? For a long, long time. They still do pretty good, right?
Yeah. There's always kind of been this rivalry between Davis and American Fork, and I think it just motivates both of us.
Right, which is great.
To be great.
Yeah, you need a good competitor to stay on top, right?
Definitely.
Without that, you kind of, I don't know. There's not anything driving you, pushing you forward. So
yeah, well, that in itself is a type of motivation, having someone to compete against and, seeing the results that they're having and you wanting to replicate those yourself so that you can stay on top.
Right.
And fast forward to like college, now that some of those guys on that team from American Fork were now my teammates,
right?
It kind of just built that relationship and ended up being a great thing. So.
Yeah. So in college then, so now moving on to college, you competed for Weber State, is that right?
I did, yeah. So my senior year of high school, after I ran the New Balance Indoor Nationals and took 7th place in the 5K. Wow. And then following that, I signed my letter of intent to Weber State. And at the time, the head coach was Paul Pilkington, and he was really like my big reason why Weber State was my choice.
Okay.
I just had so much trust in his coaching and his expertise that I feel like that was the place for me to go and really be able to take my running to the next level.
Right. Because there are some other great running programs in the state of Utah, right?
Yeah.
Like BYU, UVU, they both have great running programs as well.
Definitely.
But Weber was your choice, huh?
Yeah.
That's awesome.
Yeah, and it helps too that we're right on the mountain. And so there's so many cool trails to run.
Yeah.
And that's my favorite form of running is, going up in the mountains and running trails.
Yeah, me too.
And so it was a no-brainer when it came to me. It was just like, yep, that's where I'm going.
That's awesome.
And I've had no regrets since.
Yeah, so. Well, and with a great coach and really pretty good tradition and history of doing well in cross country. So
yeah,
awesome. So how did you do then at that level, at the college level?
It started off really great. My freshman year in cross, I ended up being like our number 2-3 guy on the team.
Awesome.
And I was really excited about it. I was the highest placing freshman ever in Weber State history for cross country at the conference meet. And from there on, the record's been broken since then, so I can't claim that anymore.
Sure.
But
for a while, you had it.
Yeah, I had it. And then in track, my very first race outdoors, I ended up breaking the stadium record at UNLV in the 10K.
Wow. That's wild.
But that's just where my career starts. And from there, it really got tough. For anyone that's followed my career through college, I was there for about 5.5 years.
Okay.
And I would say for probably, with some red shirts as well.
Yeah.
I was probably injured for 90% of that time.
Oh, that's tough. And that's really tough.
It was really hard, both mentally and physically.
Right.
I mean, because inside I knew I had so much potential, and I already accomplished so many great things that just made me hungry for more. And when you can't go out there and compete and run and do that kind of thing, when you have that ability, is just demoralizing.
Yeah,
and it affects you.
That's real tough.
Yeah, it affects you in every way. And so but the outlook I had on it was, I have this time off, but I still have so much I can be doing right now to train.
Yeah.
And so I want to do as much as I can now to be able to look back and say, I have no regrets from when I was injured that I didn't work as hard as I could.
Yeah.
And so I would spend anywhere from 2 to 3 hours a day, either in the pool or on an elliptical machine.
Wow.
Through that 4 or 5 years. And
I think that's a critical, attitude and effort to put forward when you are injured. I think it's really important to still put in the time, keeping your body tuned up, keeping your heart and lungs and muscles ready to go for when you get back into it. Too often people think I need to rest and they totally stop doing anything. Then when they go to get back into it, their tendons, ligaments, joints, plus heart and lungs are not ready.
Yeah.
And so now you have to get your whole body back in shape. And it's hard. And it leads to a lot of other injuries and things like that. But
yeah, because definitely like when you get back into it, you want to jump in head first. You're ready to run. And so if you haven't prepared to keep your body in that shape, it's just going to lead to more injuries.
Right. So what do you feel like you've learned from that journey? I know that's pretty rough, going through that over and over again to 90% of your time being injured. That's brutal.
I mean, the most I ever trained in a row was probably 3 months through college.
Wow.
I mean, the time in between, obviously, I was still training, but it wasn't the running that I wanted to be doing.
Yeah.
But if I were to pinpoint something that I really learned, it's hard to pinpoint to one thing. But I would say perseverance is definitely one of the biggest lessons I learned, that every running moment I had since those injuries and in between each one just meant so much more. Going out, and even if it was a subpar race because I'd only been training for 2 months, each result meant so much more to me.
Yeah.
Every PR did.
Yeah, you earned it for sure.
Yeah.
Right. Okay. So now, with those struggles through college, what do you feel like that has changed in the way you train and the way you think about running now?
Mm-hmm. It's really helped me listen to my body. That's obviously, you hear people say that a lot when it comes to running.
Yeah.
But you really have to be in tune with how everything's feeling. Right. And it allowed me to learn a lot about my muscles and the way my body works. And so I've adapted that to my own training, in that, if I start to feel certain things going on, I know that, okay, I should change my training schedule in this way or in that way.
Yeah.
And it's allowed me to, fingers crossed, so far stay healthy.
Right.
And be able to get some good training in.
That's awesome.
And, I just hope to be able to take from those experiences that I had and be able to keep implementing those so that I can ultimately reach my goals that I kind of had set for myself.
Awesome. So that's a tough thing when you kind of have to go back to the drawing board. And I know during this time you were studying like exercise science and learning more about how the body works, the anatomy, the physiology. You feel like that helped kind of reshape and retool your mentality behind running as well?
It did, yeah. When people ask me what I study, I usually tell them I pretty much just studied running.
Yeah.
And so, it was training in the morning, running at school, and then running after school. And it really now allowed me to learn a lot and learn, about the physiological effects going on in my body when I, I'm breaking muscles down in workouts. Yeah. And knowing that, there literally has to be a time to repair those, because that's when you get stronger. That's when you get faster, is that time that it's in between the hard workouts that really matter.
Right. So one of my mantras with exercise, especially running, is if my workout today ruins my workout tomorrow or the next day or the next 6 weeks or 8 weeks, then I slipped up today. Right.
Yeah.
Do you feel that that's true, that we sometimes push it too hard today, not thinking of the long term?
Definitely. I mean, running's all about long term. Right. I mean, long distance races, marathons, it's all thinking about what's going to happen at mile 25.
Right.
And so I kind of take that analogy back into my own training on a month-to-month basis, and that, is what I do at mile 1 or in this week of training going to affect mile 25 of the marathon, or 2 months from now in my training? Am I going to be in a pool instead of out running?
Right. Right. Yeah. And I see all the time runners come to me saying, I was killing it all through my training. I was getting faster and faster and faster. And then race day, I just didn't have anything in the tank.
Yeah.
And I see that all the time, where people used up all their energy in training and then on race day ran depleted. And so their training, although great for improving steadily, kind of left them depleted for race day, versus taking it a little bit more easy through your training, still pushing yourself, but keeping a more consistent schedule that didn't necessarily beat you up so much through your training, so that race day you had a lot in reserve. That's a hard thing to do.
It is.
But it's super critical in getting a great result every race.
Yeah. I mean, I think that's shown, and it's hard to think that way, I think, because of media. You look at any movie, any sports movie, it's all about training hard. It's all about, train hard. It doesn't show the recovery. That's boring to watch.
Right.
And so athletes kind of get this idea in their minds that it's all about training hard.
Right. That the harder you push, the better result you're going to get.
Yeah, which isn't true.
Not always.
Yeah.
Oftentimes we do better backing down just a little bit and giving our body enough rest that it can recover. And every workout, if you're going from a full tank versus like a half full tank. We'll be optimistic.
Yeah.
A half full tank every workout isn't quite the same.
Mm-hmm.
And so we wind up beating up our body. Our joints aren't fully recovered. Nutritionally, we're not fully recovered, and we wind up with bone stress injuries and, tendon and ligament injuries. And so super critical, in my opinion, to make sure that you have enough easy runs in your program, enough rest days in your program, and things that help you rebuild and recover, as well as more, slow runs, so that you're not always going full speed, full tilt.
Yeah.
So that you're able to start each run ready to go and feeling good, rather than kind of fatigued and worn out with every run.
Yeah, I mean, you grow as a runner when you're hitting the extremes, really.
Right.
I mean, if you're running everything in the middle, you're not pushing your boundaries.
Exactly.
But if you're always in the middle, you never can hit those top end boundaries. And so you kind of need to hit both ends of the spectrum. And on your hard days, you need to be hard.
Right.
You need to be running as fast as you can and really, challenging yourself.
Right.
But on the days in between, you can't have those hard days if you're always doing that. So you need to have it back off.
Right.
You need to have it easy. And that was one of the biggest things that I learned as well.
Right.
Because I love to run hard.
Well, most competitive people, most really, elite athletes love to push themselves. And so it's a really hard lesson to learn to back off enough. So I talk with people a lot about polarization of training, exactly what you were just talking about.
Yeah.
That your slow runs have to be really slow and kind of boring almost.
Mm-hmm.
You should end a slower run feeling like I could keep going for a long time.
Yeah.
And that's kind of the point, that you're not depleting your body with that run. You're putting in the mileage to keep your body making those changes, but you're not really pushing it to the point where you're depleted and fatigued and need a lot of recovery. Mm-hmm. And then on your hard days, you've got to go all out. Yeah. And that's okay to do as long as you build in enough recovery in your training plan. Yeah. So it doesn't mean you can't run every day. Your slow runs just have to be really slow, and your fast runs have to be all out, so that you're pushing both physiological systems. Mm-hmm. Building up that aerobic system where you're training your body to burn fat and go longer, further, harder. And then that anaerobic system where you're all out, developing your heart and your lungs and your ability, essentially your capacity to go harder.
Yeah.
And so you've got this capacity to go longer and the capacity to go harder. And when you get that balance right, it's magic.
He's a good runner.
Yeah. And so one of the things through the test that we just did with Preston is we found that his training right now, he's killing it for that. So awesome stuff. And you're up to 90 miles a week-ish, you said?
About 80 to 90 right now.
That's a lot of miles.
Yeah, it is. Still got a little ways to go, though.
So yeah, definitely it's, elite runners are running 100 plus a lot of the time.
Yeah, that's about my goal, is about 110, 120.
Yeah.
Going into marathon training.
And that's a lot. But at the same time, if done appropriately, if done properly, it does take a lot of time, but you can do that healthily in a way that doesn't beat up your body too bad. And it does take a lot of recovery, both recovery runs, but also time spent doing some things to take care of your muscles, strength training, and so some cross-training type stuff as well, so that you can make sure that your body is strong in every plane, in every phase of the game, keeping the hips strong, feet strong, all those things, so you don't wind up with some of those other nagging injuries that creep into it, right?
Yep.
How much time do you spend with cross-training type things?
Talking about like rehab, like
so rehab, so rehab type stuff, or like strength training of hips, feet, knees, all those things.
Definitely. Strength training has become one of my main focuses.
Yeah.
I feel like the runners neglect it so much that
I agree.
Yeah. And so I honestly strength train every day.
Awesome.
I alternate between focusing on upper body and lower body. So like we said, you have that rest day in between so that your muscles can recover. But it's just so important in keeping you injury free, and then B, I think it's huge in developing, especially your top end speed, and giving you that ceiling, that room to grow for your aerobic capacity.
Now, are you lifting fairly heavy then?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Yep.
And so a lot of runners are afraid of lifting heavy. They don't want to bulk up and things like that. But remember that your strength training in your total volume of training is really fairly small. You're not likely to bulk up with strength training, even lifting heavy. So typically not much of a concern, because you're not lifting heavy every single day, or you're not lifting the same muscles heavy every single day, like somebody that's looking to grow their muscle, get their muscle bigger. What you're trying to do is make that muscle stronger per muscle unit so that you can do more work. Essentially, imagine if to run, it's taking 40% of your leg's strength with every stride. You're using 40% of that muscle capacity, and you can strengthen to the point where it's only using 35%. You're saving 5% energy with every stride. That's huge, right?
Yeah.
And so that's one of the things that strength training can really help you with, top end speed and your endurance, because it's not taking as much out of you. So strength training is really critical in terms of injury and in terms of fatigue. Really, really important. And so it's important to lift, and to lift heavy is okay. Really critical, in my opinion, for injury prevention, as well as just maximizing your performance. There's studies that show that strength training alone can increase runners 5 and 10K times, which is pretty awesome. That just adding strength training alone to somebody's regimen can improve that.
Yeah, it shortens your ground reaction force times, your ground reaction times, decreases the force that goes up with your legs, and increases your running efficiency.
Right.
And you mentioned a little bit about runners being worried about gaining weight with lifting, and that was my biggest concern, I would say, as I started strength training. I was so worried about, runners have to be this certain mold.
Right.
And if I lift too much, I'm not going to be that mold anymore.
Right.
But, I found that, I gained a few pounds to begin with, which is normal. I mean, I'm adding a little bit of extra muscle tissue. But at a point, it kind of starts to plateau, and you start building just that strength, and your body just becomes naturally stronger.
Right. Right. So a lot of those early gains in weight are actually just blood vessels and nerve endings sprouting into that muscle to activate that muscle and feed that muscle in a little bit different way.
Yeah.
And so most of our early changes in any program are actually just vascular and neurological. And so that early weight gain is pretty par for the course and isn't necessarily detrimental. It's actually your ability to feed and innervate that muscle more effectively. So you're using that entire muscle. And so that's part of why we get those early gains in efficiency and things like that, because we're actually feeding and communicating with those muscles better initially. Yeah. So that's one of the key benefits that you get out of strength training is we use the muscle more efficiently and we communicate with it better. So again, strength training is super key. Sorry, getting a little preachy with it.
It's that important.
Right. It is that important. But so it's been awesome to learn more about you and how you've kind of come through your running world and your journey. So tell us a little bit more now about how you connected with UtahRunning.com and how that's kind of played into your whole running philosophy and running, your running world.
Yeah. So Ken and Janae started Utah Running in 2009. And at the time, they were also assistant coaches at Davis High School.
Oh, I didn't know that.
Yeah. That's how I originally got the connection with Ken and Janae.
Oh, cool.
And so all through college, through the summers and things, I would help them with their social media and some of their marketing with Utah Running. And once I finished up college, they reached out to me and offered me a job to work with them, as well as to join their elite racing team, which that's I have to say I'm super grateful for, because, through those years of being injured, a lot of people lose faith in what you can do, and that support that they gave me has been really, really supportive and beneficial for me.
Sure.
But working for Utah Running has been awesome. Utah Running, obviously we have our racing teams, our elite racing team, our club, and it's really just a one-stop shop for runners around the state to, get everything they need to be a successful runner.
Yeah.
We have race calendars. We have obviously our clubs where people can find training partners and groups to train with. And we try to provide them with the best amenities that they may need to become successful. Yeah. So we partner with different places such as Body Smart and you, to give them these opportunities to have the tools they need. Yeah. So they can come, get their legs worked on here, or go to VO2 max test done, or, get discounted running gear over at Wasatch Running Center. And so that opportunity to kind of give that to other people and kind of give them the opportunities to become better runners and live a healthy lifestyle is my passion. Yeah. I love seeing people change their lives and seeing people work towards a goal and reaching that goal. It's so fulfilling as a coach and as a fellow runner to see people reach PRs. It's kind of, the end of races, people are always celebrating for each other when they hit PRs and things like that.
It is a fun environment. Racing is like kind of a great brotherhood where people really do, like, they cheer each other on and they help each other finish. And it's amazing as you run a race to hear people talking and encouraging one another. It's kind of this brotherhood or sisterhood of, like, I know what you're going through. I know that this is hard and everything. And it's fun to have people root for you and to root for other people and see them meet their goals and exceed their goals. It's a ton of fun. But it's such a great environment. Running is awesome. And super, like, major props to Ken and Janae for all that they've done with Utah Running to support runners throughout the state. So many resources for runners with their, website, their articles, connecting to a bunch of other professionals throughout the state that are, experts in running, in nutrition, in rehab, in, whatever, so many different areas. It's fun to see kind of that expert panel, physicians and therapists and nutritionists and, dietitians, all kinds of walks of life. Mm-hmm. What a great connector that they are to all the different ways that people can get help with their running. Yeah,
I really see it as kind of building that running community and building the effectiveness of it. Mm-hmm. Connecting runners from St. George up to runners in Logan, with Utah Running Club, and like you said, just all aspects of it, whether it's the medical side or the business side or the runners or the race directors. It's just really a great resource for anybody. Yeah.
Well, and that's an important role, to be that connector between different worlds within kind of the same genre, I guess, but to really connect all those resources, that's huge. And so props to them for helping everyone out that loves running. And so some cool things on the way for UtahRunning.com, where they will continue to build those resources. So it's fun. So stay tuned, and there will be a lot of announcements coming up of some new fun things that they're doing. So
we have a lot of stuff coming down the pipeline. So be on the lookout for that. We'll have some announcements over social media here, and actually the next week about some new things we're launching. So
for sure. So look up UtahRunning.com. Obviously, that's the website. We'll post some links down below on how to find their social media and where to find a running group near you. So look up UtahRunning.com, and there's a bunch of on Facebook, and there's a bunch of different running groups. So there's probably one in your area. So look it up and see what you can find and join those groups. They're a ton of fun to run with. I've run with the Davis and the Weber, and a lot of fun. Really
they're
cool.
Great.
Yeah,
fun atmosphere, a lot of people to run with.
And super casual. So don't feel like you have to be a professional runner to go and run with these groups. I've run with them when I have been injured or just coming off an injury, so I was super slow and not feeling great. And, awesome. You can always go at your own pace. There's no pressure to keep up with anybody else. I always run slower than everybody because that's kind of my
Whatever.
theme.
I don't believe that.
I like to run slow. That's kind of my mantra, is like run slow, so that on my fast runs I can run fast. So
that's kind of our motto, actually. There's a place for every pace. So we kind of preach that to everybody, that no matter how fast you are, no matter how slow you are, everyone's welcome. Right. So don't feel like you have to get to a certain level to go and join the groups. Come out and run. Ton of fun, and hope to see you out on the trails or on the street. Thanks so much for joining here, the Body Smart Vodcast. Thanks, Preston, for joining us. No problem. Thanks for having me.
Yeah, and we look forward to seeing you out on the road. Thanks so much, and we'll catch you next time.
Thanks for listening to the Body Smart Podcast. Join us in the Body Smart community on Facebook to share your successes or ask a question for our next episode. Now get out there and take the next step toward living your active lifestyle.